Hey, this is Nikki G and welcome to Better Commander. Today we're breaking down some budget bangers and cheap cards for your Commander decks from Commander Legends, Battle for Baldur's Gate. Alright, listen, I've been scouring the web for all the best cards from Commander Legends Battle for Baldur's Gate. In doing so, I've noticed some interesting anomalies. See, in the normal course of business, the showcase and full art versions of cards tend to be a little more expensive. Well, in this set, there are these weird little cases where that's inverted. I'm not sure if Magic players have rejected the parchment old school showcase style or if it's just certain art choices or what. In any case, there's some deals here, brother. Oh, and another thing I noticed, also in contrast to the normal course of events, is that the pricey reprints that were in this set absolutely tanked in price rather than the moderate price decrease that normally comes with a reprint. There's never a hard and fast rule as to how much a card's price decreases after a reprint, but some of the Commander cards in this set went from $20 to less than 10% of their former value. And going along with the depressed cost of some of the new cards, this set is a brewer's dream. Let's talk about it. But first, let's slam the like buttons, let's slap in the subscribe buttons because the information you get in here is invaluable, it's priceless, it's worth billions and billions and billions. Alright, let's start off with the Wizards of Thay. 3 and a blue for a creature, human wizard. It's a 3/3 with Myriad. Instant and sorcery spells you cast cost 1 less to cast. You may cast sorcery spells as though they had flash. Am I insane in thinking this card is amazing? You can instant speed sorceries. That's pretty good, alright, but it's also got cost reduction. Great. Plus the Myriad, which works so well with the cost reduction and the ability to flash in sorceries. If you have 3 opponents, you can attack and then you get a 3 mana cost reduction on sorceries. I mean, guess what, dude? It's 50 cents. Let's talk about Bramble Sovereign. 2 green for a creature Dryad. It's a 4/4. Whenever another non-token creature enters the battlefield, you may pay 1 and a green. If you do, that creature's controller creates a token that's a copy of that creature. This is an incredible card in a creature deck, a copy token deck, an ETB deck. This was originally printed in Battle Bond and crested at $40 or so. Know why? Because it's a powerhouse that feeds a ton of synergies. Look at the cute little plant lady. You can't take her out for a date, but you can buy one for $4. Blood Money. 5 black for a sorcery. Destroy all creatures. For each non-token creature destroyed this way, you create a tapped treasure token. I was a little higher on this card at the beginning than I am now, but in certain decks that play Nadir's Nightblade and other artifact sacrifice payoffs, this is a win-win. Lets you rebuild if you can survive your turn with a big mana boost. The fact that they enter tap really sucks though. Displacer Kitten. Look at this cute little cat. 3 and a blue for a creature cat beast. It's a 2/2. Has avoidance. Whenever you cast a non-creature spell, exile up to 1 target non-land permanent you control, then return that card to the battlefield under its owner's control. This can be had for about $8 right now, so this isn't necessarily a budget card, but it peaked at around $20. I've been watching the price of this card closely because it's such a combo machine. At baseline, you can get double blink shenanigans in an ETB deck. If you build into one of its many combos, then the stuff you're doing in your deck makes it really good anyway. For $8, this is probably the best card in the set. Alright, this is super interesting to me. Karlach, Fury of Avernus. 4 and a red for a legendary creature, Tiefling Barbarian. It's a 5/4. Whenever you attack, if it's the first combat phase of the turn, untap all attacking creatures. They gain first strike until end of turn. After this phase, there's an additional combat phase, has choose a background. People really don't want the showcase. For some reason, it's half of what the regular version is. I really like the old school art on some of these, not all of them. This is one where I'm happier to have the showcase, parchment, or whatever it is they call it. This goes from $6 for the regular version to $2 for the showcase. That's huge. Anyway, this effect is fantastic. It just happens, and it happens every turn if Karlach sticks. This is better than $2, unless you really hate the showcase, but I think it's dope. I mean, look at this lady. She's out there at the club. She's doing her best. I mean, she's kind of boxy, maybe a little overdeveloped in the deltoids, but I'm sure she can cook, and she's probably pretty appreciative of any attention that she gets. Come on, dude. The Mighty Servant of Luke O. 3 generic mana for an artifact vehicle. It's a 6/6 with trample. Has ward, discard a card. Whenever Mighty Servant of Luke O becomes crewed for the first time each turn, if it was crewed by exactly 2 creatures, brother, it gains whenever this creature deals combat damage to a player, draw 2 cards until end of turn. It has crew 4. Draw 2 cards. Let that penetrate your thick skull, you megalodon. Draw 2 cards, but if you have to crew it with 2 dudes, but that's life. This is a little niche, but if your commander isn't attacking and you can conjure up another utility creature, this thing is a house for 3 mana. I've used it in various decks, and it's an overperformer in those decks. Any decks that care about vehicles, they care about artifacts, they all want to draw cards, dude. Azuri's Predation. Look at this guy, he's all proud of himself. 5 green for a sorcery. For each creature your opponents control, create a 4/4 green Phyrexian Beast creature token. Each of those tokens fights a different one of those creatures. What are your options for green board wipes, right? Oh, this is it. If you want tokens or are running cards like Garruk's Uprising, then this is a card to consider. Fantastic card, very cheap. Alright man, Austere Command. 4 white for a sorcery. Choose 2. Destroy all artifacts. Destroy all enchantments. Destroy all creatures with mana value 3 or less. Destroy all creatures with mana value 4 or greater. A truly versatile board wipe that has been recently outclassed by Farewell. Farewell's like $8. Nonetheless, a very cool, newly budget option because Farewell is $8. Curtain's Call, what is going on in this art? This guy's about to release some doom down on that lady down there. I wonder what she did. 5 and a black for an instant. Undaunted. This spell costs 1 less to cast for each opponent. Destroy 2 target creatures. Another card that was $10 prior to this set's printing. This card rips, alright? I'm not going to pull any punches. It's reasonable to assume that you'll have 3 opponents, so 3 mana to destroy 2 creatures isn't anything to sneeze at. You only need 1 black pip, and it's an instant. Very slept on card. Drown in the Loch. Look at Sean Connery just drowning somebody in some Scottish lake somewhere. It's blue and a black for an instant. Choose 1. Counter target spell with mana value less than or equal to the number of cards in its controller's graveyard, or destroy target creature with mana value less than or equal to the number of cards in its controller's graveyard. The versatility of this card is what makes it really good, and it was creeping up in price. Very welcome reprint for all my mill friends out there. Bunch of demons. Nautiloid Ship, that's right, I'm doing another vehicle. 4 generic mana for an artifact vehicle, it's a 5/5 with flying. When Nautiloid Ship enters the battlefield, exile target player's graveyard. Whenever Nautiloid Ship deals combat damage to a player, you may put a creature card exile with Nautiloid Ship onto the battlefield under your control as crew 3. This is another example of the full art being cheaper than the regular version. I have no idea why. Full art is under $5 and steadily rising for the regular version. This card plays way better than it looks and really shines in a mill themed deck. The crew 3 ability is pretty cheap for a 5/5 with flying. When your commander's not attacking, then just have him crew this thing. The exile in the graveyard happens on ETB, so that's value even if it gets destroyed. Great card, buddy. Kindred Discovery. I cannot say enough about this card. 3 blue for an enchantment. As it enters the battlefield, choose a creature type. Whenever a creature you control of the chosen type enters the battlefield or attacks, draw a card. This peaked at $40 and I had it in 3 decks. I had it in a dragon deck, a zombie deck, and I had it in my Tal'Ran Drake deck. This is a very good card that gets immediate value. It got a list reprint, depressed to $20, then a Baldur's Gate reprint, and now it's $5, dude. I've used this a bunch and it's a house in all those decks. Plus the art on Kindred Discovery is amazing because it's a bunch of birds showing a bunch of other birds that they can wear clothes and they can walk on 2 legs and they don't have to deal with all this stuff. They can be part of the economy, okay? Then we got Deep Gnome Terramancer. 1 and a white for a creature, it's a gnome wizard. 2/2 with flash, has mold earth. Whenever 1 or more lands enter the battlefield under an opponent's control without being played, you may search your library for a plains card, put it onto the battlefield tap, then shuffle. Do this only once each turn. Only the deepest of gnomes go in my decks, buddy. Only the deepest of gnomes, and this guy goes so deep. Look at those tiny hands. Looks like a dang treat on this old little cutie. $5 for this guy. You can get any planes, so if Johnny Meatball casts a Cultivate, you can go get a Triome. This is better the better your opponent's mana bases are and balances out fetch lands. Plus you can flash it in, dude. Triggers off Path to Exile too. It's synergy, baby. How about the old robe of the Archmagi? What do you want, the Archmagi walking around with no bathrobe, dude? It's 2 and a blue for an artifact equipment. Whenever a equipped creature deals combat damage to a player, you draw that many cards. Has equipped 4, but it has equipped Shaman, Warlock, or Wizard for 1. This is just a cool, interesting card that goes in a lot of decks. You gotta be drawing cards out there, buddy. When I saw it, I thought of Alila, Artful Provocateur. I'm always surprised by how many Shaman there are out there as well. Stolen Strategy, 4 and a red for an enchantment. At the beginning of your upkeep, exile the top card of each opponent's library. Until end of turn, you may cast spells from among those exiled cards, and you may spend mana as though it were mana of any color to cast those spells. This thing was up to $20, and it fits great in Prosper decks. If you want this effect, this is probably the time to buy it, because this Impulse draws 3 cards every turn, and it's now like 30 cents, dude. Pull from Tomorrow, X blue for an instant. Draw X cards, then discard a card. Very simple instant. This is another one that was close to $5. It's an instant and is fantastic in Dimir Reanimator decks. You can refill your hand, feed your graveyard, put a selective card right into your graveyard. Guess what, buddy? Now it's 50 cents. Reflecting Pool. So this is a land. Taps, add 1 mana of any type that a land you control could produce. This is a sweet rainbow land that comes in untapped. It was up around $30 prior to this reprint. It's $7 right now. Honestly, I see the downside on this, and I'm not as high as some people are on it, but it gets exponentially better in an optimized mana base. Plus there are now fetchable tri-lands, so getting all your colors is trivial if you have unlimited capital for fetches and triomes. This won't stay at $7, I don't think. I know that's kind of a hot take, but hey, listen, you're here for the hot takes, buddy, and there's a lot of demand for this effect. Astral Dragon. I never learned about this constellation in high school. 6 blue for a creature dragon. It's a 4/4 with flying. Project Image. When it enters the battlefield, create 2 tokens that are copies of target non-creature permanent, except they're 3/3 dragon creatures in addition to their other types, and they have flying. Wow, so 8 mana. This is a beast though. Copy all your friends' best artifacts and enchantments. This is an ETB, so you can blink it, recur it, polymorph into it, copy it, do whatever you gotta do. Fantastic dragon. He's made of stars. He's very cool. He's an interesting card. Oh, let's mention my old buddy, the Thought Vessel. 2 generic mana for an artifact. You have no maximum hand size. It also has tap, add colorless. Solid utility piece. When it only had a few printings, this fetched as much as like $10. Now you can get it for $3.25 or so. It's been reprinted a million times now. Great card for tons of decks. And you got Green Slime. A doctor once told me I had Green Slime. 2 and a green for a creature ooze. It's a 2/2 with flash. When it enters the battlefield, counter target activated or triggered ability from an artifact or enchantment source. If a permanent's ability is countered this way, destroy that permanent. Has foretell for a green. The cool thing about this card is that in response to Smothering Tithe or Rhystic Study's triggered ability, you can destroy it. In decks that care about creature count, like Rurik Thar, or green decks that run Beast Whisperer, which is basically all green decks, this is another creature that can act as a sweet counter. I love this guy. Ascend from Avernus. Look at the art on this thing. X white for a sorcery. Return all creature and planeswalker cards with mana value X or less from your graveyard to the battlefield. Exile Ascend from Avernus. Late game, this gets back all your aristocrat creatures in a white aristocrats deck. Mass reanimation effects in white are very noteworthy because there's not very many of them. And this card is just pennies, dude. Delayed Blast Fireball. 1 red for an instant. Delayed Blast Fireball deals 2 damage to each opponent and each creature they control. If the spell was cast from exile, it deals 5 damage to each opponent and each creature they control instead. Has foretell for 4 red. This card has blown up, precisely because of all the play from exile decks and recent Cascade commanders like Abaddon from 40k. $5 for this guy. Lots of demand for this card. This thing has blown up, no pun intended. We got Leyline of Anticipation, 2 blue for an enchantment. If it's in your opening hand, you may begin the game with it on the battlefield. You may cast spells as though they had flash. It took 2 reprints to get this down under $5. This is a fantastic card if you want this effect. Everybody goes on and on about Josh Lee Kwai and Vidalcan Ori, but if you're in blue, you can get a redundant copy with this sweet little Leyline. Irenicus Vile Duplication, 3 and a blue for a sorcery. Create a token that's a copy of target creature you control, except the token is flying and isn't legendary. I've talked about this card a few times. I even pinged my buddies and said in the beginning, hey, this is really good. It's $1. But now it's $5 and rising. This has so many applications, goes in so many decks. I think the time of this being a budget card may be over, my friends. Alright, this is an effect that I'm talking about. Legion Loyalty, 6 white for an enchantment. Creatures you control have Myriad. I don't know why the full art version is like $3 and the others are $5 to $6, but I think it might have something to do with the art. Take a look at this art. Can we talk about this? It looks like the fraternity from Revenge of the Nerds cosplaying Harry Potter. This is 8 mana, so you'll need to be in a deck where you're ramping super hard, but this card goes really nuclear in a deck where you have lots of ETB effects. Look at this little dime piece. Caves of Chaos Adventurer, 3 and a red for a creature, human barbarian. It's a 5/3 with trample. Whenever Caves of Chaos Adventurer enters the battlefield, you take the initiative. When it attacks, exile the top card of your library. If you've completed a dungeon, you may play that card this turn without paying its mana cost. Otherwise, you may play that card this turn. So this guy has some impulse draw stapled on. You take the initiative and it has this upside. Plus the art is a super cool barbarian lady. Looks like she's doing roller derby all day long. Sweet card. Oh, then we got the Wrathful Red Dragon. 3 red for a creature dragon. It's a 5/5 with flying. Whenever a dragon you control is dealt damage, it deals that much damage to any target that isn't a dragon. This is a really powerful card for $2. Even if it's just him out there and you're doing things like Star of Extinction and Blasphemous Act, then this can really throw around the damage. In a dragon deck, this guy can put your opponents in a really difficult pickle. I mean, even if they have flyers, they can still get blocked and then you're dealing damage to your dragons and then you can just dome them anyway. Fantastic. Brainstealer Dragon, 5 black for a creature dragon horror. It's a 6/6 with flying. At the beginning of your end step, exile the top card of each opponent's library. You may play those cards for as long as they remain exiled. If you cast a spell this way, you may spend mana as though it were mana of any color to cast it. Whenever a non-land permanent an opponent owns enters the battlefield under your control, they lose life equal to its mana value. This guy is from a precon, but the more I reflect on this set, the more I appreciate the overall design. You see, the precons had the same set symbol. That's one of the things that's most confusing on any of this. You got 3 set symbols per set, and the cards in the precons were readily available in the set and collector's boosters, as far as I know anyways. Even after reading the Wizard's informational page, I'm still unsure where all these cards can be found, but I do appreciate the easy availability of the precon rares. And I understand why they can't do that with the regular sets. They can't just put all these, reprints from the commander decks in the standard. Anyways, the second ability is Gas in a Theft deck, but only a Theft deck that plays from exile or the library. I love this guy. Decanter of Endless Scissorp, or water, 3 for an artifact. You have no maximum hand size. Tap, add 1 mana of any color. Another example of the market's hatred of the showcase version. The non-showcase is $2 and change. The showcase version is literally just the change. I kind of like the showcase version. The no maximum hand size effect is great on a color producing 3 mana rock. Elminster's Simulacrum, 4 blue for an instant. For each opponent, you create a token that's a copy of up to 1 target creature that player controls. This is an amazing card, it's only $1. I am blown away by that fact. This scales to your opponent's best stuff and you get 3 bodies. Then we got Wild Magic Surge, red for an instant. Destroy target permanent an opponent controls. Its controller reveals cards from the top of their library until they reveal a permanent card that shares a card type with that permanent. They put that card onto the battlefield and the rest on the bottom of their library in a random order. I've talked about this before, but your primary use of this card is as a land killer. You can take care of Gaia's Cradle with $1.50 uncommon, but you can hit anything, so that nasty artifact combo or creature combo can be easily disrupted. Then they go get something that hopefully doesn't combo. Curse of Opulence is 1 red mana for an enchantment. It's an aura curse. Enchant player. Whenever enchanted player is attacked, create a gold token. Each opponent attacking that player does the same, so it incentivizes attacking the main man over there. This was once a $15 card. Now you can say, well, dingus, that's because there was only 2 other printings and it was relatively scarce. But even so, there are lots of cards like that. There was a tremendous demand for it at some point. I mean, in the casual spiky commander format, this beauty has a lot of synergies. Gold tokens don't need to tap, which is a marginal upgrade over treasure, but the real deal with this card is the efficiency. Overcharged Amalgam, what a slept on card. 2 blue for a creature zombie horror. It's a 3/3 with flash and flying. Has exploit. When this creature enters the battlefield, you may sacrifice a creature. And when it exploits a creature, counter target spell, activated ability, or triggered ability. This can exploit itself, which is fine. Or you can exploit a little token or something, but it counters everything. I've won games off of this, countering a triggered ability that would have killed me. Such an underrated card, you can't even tell where this guy's face is. Goblin Spymaster, 2 and a red for a creature Goblin Rogue. It's a 2/1 with first strike. At the beginning of each opponent's end step, that player creates a 1/1 red Goblin creature token with creatures you control attack each combat if able. This was, again, $15 for a long time. I cannot stress enough how much this messes up games. Whenever somebody puts one of these out, we all just go like, uh-oh. You get a lot of death triggers for decks that care about that as well, as everyone tries to kill all their goblins. Disrupt Decorum, 2 red for a sorcery. Gold all creatures that you don't control. Until your next turn, those creatures attack each combat if able and attack a player other than you if able. Another card that was once $20. Not another time, dude, but like a year and a half ago. Not in ancient Egypt. Why, you ask? Because it's good. Also, there weren't as many goat effects. I think we have reached market saturation on these types of effects, and this might not be as good as it used to be, but it's still super in those goat decks. Plus, it throws a monkey wrench into everybody's combat plans. Looks like Thanksgiving at my house. This thing is very cheap right now. If you look real closely at the art, it looks like some guy's trying to dig another guy's eye out with a spoon. Grim Hireling, 3 in black for a creature Tiefling Rogue. It's a 3/2. Whenever 1 or more creatures you control deal combat damage to a player, create 2 treasure tokens. Has black, sacrifice X treasures. Target creature gets -X until end of turn. Activate only as a sorcery. Look at this creepo over there. He's just sharpening his knives, stabbing pitchers for no reason. This thing was close to $15 at its peak, and you know why? It's really good. Currently just over $2. You got your Storm King's Thunder. Sounds like an AC/DC song, brother. Storm King's Thunder. X red for an instant. When you cast your next instant or sorcery spell this turn, copy that spell X times. You may choose new targets for the copies. I'm shocked that this is under $2. There are so many decks that want this effect. It's big, splashy. When you have cost reducers out there, this can just end games. The art is amazing. It's just some old guy doing a frolic in the rain. Alright, let's close this out on Aboleth Spawn. 2 and a blue for a creature fish horror. It's a 2/3 with flash, has ward 2. Probing Telepathy. Whenever a creature entering the battlefield under an opponent's control causes a triggered ability of that creature to trigger, you may copy that ability. You may choose new targets for the copy. I cannot say enough about this guy. There's so many incidental ETB effects. You got your Solemn Simulacrums, you got your Eternal Witnesses out there. Plus it's fun and throws a monkey wrench into everything. Love this guy. Anyways, I just wanted to reflect on this amazing set. Had a ton of reprints and commander cards that made my decks better for sure. I love the really thoughtful designs in this set. Even though everyone hated the reprints, there's some serious value in there. Let me know what you guys think, and Happy New Year to everyone. Sneaky G from Better Commander signing off.